The Uganda Co-operative Alliance, an umbrella of registered cooperatives and SACCOs in Uganda, and the International Labour Organization have identified cooperatives and farmer groups for training to address the increasing cases of child labour. The increasing cases of child labour are related to household vulnerabilities and poverty, lack of education, cultural attitudes and inadequate policies. The General Secretary of Uganda Co-operative Alliance, Ivan Asimwe, says an integrated approach to deal with different root causes of child labour will address the cause. Cooperatives are well placed to influence the root causes because they combine a social and economic mission to meet members' aspiration.
The majority of the children who are engaged in child labour live in rural areas and they are in the agricultural sector. So based on this study, UC and Ilo, they come in because there is a gap, there is a problem. Because our laws are very clear. The laws of the country show that children below 12 years are not supposed to be engaged in child labor. But realities on the ground show that our children just go to rural areas and see. Just go even at this time. You'll find our children either picking coffee, they are picking tea, they are doing any form of child labor. Instead of doing something, yes, child labor does not mean that the child should be seated in the sitting room waiting for food. But here it's different. These are children who are deployed to go and work. Either they are in the tea plantations, they are in the coffee plantations, they are either in production, they are either carrying, they are doing all forms of work. Instead of being in other activities that will develop their career, for example, education, they are not there. So, based on the statistics available, then the Uganda Co-operative Alliance partners with the International Labour Organization, and also this one is in line with the Sustainable Development Goals. They are also in line with Uganda's National Development Plan. They are in line with the Vision 2040, because we do not need to deploy children, because children are supposed to be developed into responsible citizens in the future.
The intervention will stimulate the potential of cooperatives to reduce vulnerability of households by creating jobs, generating alternative income opportunities and providing social services. Uganda Co-operative Alliance, an international labour organization, piloted a project on accelerating action for the elimination of child labour in supply chains in Africa and Uganda.
In Uganda, most cooperatives are in agriculture. Actually, currently, statistics indicate that more than 90% of Ugandan cooperatives are in agriculture. The remaining percentage are in other sectors like electricity. Away from electricity, others are in housing, others are in cash, in SACCOs, So that gives a big challenge, and that gives a very huge mileage for the issue of child labor in the agricultural sector. That's right, from coffee, from the coffee value chain to the tea value chains, which is very, very difficult. And actually, it's upon that looking at the Ugandan statistics, where 94.9% of children are directly in child labor and directly doing hazardous work, carrying, loading vehicles, feeding into machines, coffee processing machines, harvesting tea, carrying those heavy bags throughout the day while harvesting tea. This is very dangerous for the future generation.
The Uganda Co-operative Alliance, UCA, is working in partnership with International Labour Organization, Ilo, to train identified cooperatives and farmer groups in Bushenyi, Kabalore, Hoima, Kikube, Mbale, and Silonko districts.
We were training most of the groups. I think we trained about 20 groups, where I think parents learn and get to know what child labor is, who is a child, and they are aware. I think we are even creating awareness and sensitization. They are getting sensitized about it. And even we've been asking for the group to give us more than the months we've been expecting, like they are ending this very much, but we are asking for more trainings so that other parents who are not aware could even get more of the things we are training them.
The training we had, especially some of my members who went for training at Ocean, when they came, they trained us, and we are also training others. And we found that it has helped. It has opened the eyes of the tea farmers not to involve their children in hazard works, which is preventing them from going to school.
Aid of a member, it has helped to sensitize the parents, take children back to school. The benefit of a child having education, either higher or lower level. On the other side, as a parent, it has eliminated a few problems that we would encounter in the village, because before putting the child protection committee, especially here in our sub-county, most of the parents had left the kids to go back to work and force them to go and hustle on themselves, because after knowing that they can earn on themselves, they also became independent of their own. But taking them back to school, it has helped the community as well.
Radio. So this radio is used for sensitization. We have a farmers program where farmers come and sensitize their fellow farmers on every bit of farming aspect, where we also talk about child labor. So this is continuity, like I said. Now, secondly is we still have AGMs. They are held every end of financial year. The board chairman never misses to inform farmers about this, about child labor, about farmers being the help of others. So if farmers see others continuing with this practice, they report. Secondly, they read for them my number during the AGM. In case of anything concerning child labor happens, they have to call me. They call me immediately, and like I told you, we have zonal chairmen stationed in every zone, in those 9 zones. I call them and they act immediately on child labor if they see any farmer using a child.
Kana usanga mukugwana ko mwana kirizo mwana mwinji kandi okukuba gumuremere yana gutwara a society usanga yokuriresha uyu mwani bakirgaho usanga bari mu factory nibakirizo imyano usanga so uyu mwani ya clean kiro nka 10 bagikirize usanga bateka umwana motoka kandi guri mu muhango munonga okugwihaho motoka usanga umwana ayokorera umwana gumurengere gukubasa ku muhenda kandi ubwo bandabo bakemba bari n'amashomero atosanga bari umero mejo kandi obwire bwo kushoma.
The training was to build capacities of field trainers and raise awareness on child labor and protection of children's rights among management staff and members of the agricultural cooperatives in the coffee and tea value chains, and guide them through development and implementation of the set of action that will contribute to the elimination of child labor within the cooperative movement of Uganda.
The coffee factory, so we have some boys who are carrying the heavy bags indirectly and stealing coffee shambas like this one. Children we are used to harvest coffee, and as per now through the trainings, now we have known that was child labor. So now we can still continue doing that previous works to our children. And during the course of as a society, as we close our financial year in September, so we have gazetted that plan, and what as a secretary manager, that putting that plan in our financial budgeting for the more trainings and more awareness of our children.
As my cooperative, I had to make an action plan that I'm going to create awareness in cooperative farmers, whereby we have 705 coffee farmers in the cooperative. Then from there, I came and started training So far, I have trained 36 farmer groups, which have given me a success, and I have gone beyond. I have reached at 1,146 members now who are aware on child labor elimination.
Concerned to about the child labor or the safeguard children, nowadays in Karangura from January up to date, nowadays it increased.
Ne yabazire abindi yo ninshobora bwa nyuma yo kweza kure kitongore echo ngunitya ncyagamba abazire kukozesa abana bato nabo ndiyo nimbashomeseza yoko mu cyaro ahubwo kuba umushomo tukagwiha society yitu turiyo tuguzanzaza mu cyaro.
We are working hand in hand together with the community so that we see a certain change as far as child labor is concerned. Few cases have been identified, and we have talked to them. Some were raising issues of not going to school that was contributing so much on the child labor. Since we started talking to these people, sensitizing them, there is a change already, and people have the children have gone to school, and cases of child labor have reduced a bit.
March this year, we registered 892 attendance. So this is one of the impact we felt as a result of stopping child labor. And as I said earlier on, we engaged in the personnel officer of the company was here and assured us that no work was going to be allowed to work with a child in the camp. So all that led to the increase in the enrollment. And also said they are most of tobacco farmers.
And now we see the number of children getting more involved in the schools, and at least the enrollment of the school has now increased. This has been the case mostly. People have been stopping mostly at P7. His child completes P7, then they send him to go and work in someone's farm, find them in plantations. But these days, things have changed. At least they continue, and some complete senior 4, others tertiary institutions, and more.
Baba kwibaza ko turi isimo kusomesa sikweza niyo kwasomesa batu ngakweza ni musomesi isoma lyacyusiye ko batu kalika tanu wabona batu isikulano ko wabona batu bana basudie bitu bisitane katara bacyusa lisoma bari angalieza bana bacyuka ko bana baza lisoma elesi ngani cyane kakiko kisikolonda niko kakole mulimo kataka kukifuna ko ni busta mu bana da bona bibanda bye kala bizeke katara bana bali kuchepata bako badeka kali yako bakola kino ne katanu bona ni seta bona babe inda yikemo ni mwana yesi na kwanga lusoma na batu bajumbe basoma bulayi nayo
achibi nacho esicheza cha Uganda co-operative alliance cha kusomesa cyaloma kiti bana bajeche kabasomesa kuno gazinani kubatambisa milimo mistoda milimo misto jifana jiti ngambe kubatuma muzi mwanyize fepo ne baza kusafula bone baza kulima isizo ninga yole yegumwesi gomwenda bana befika basoba kuze esonoda ngakuza kwaba tumakuza kupaka sazi mwanyi baze banogezi mwanyi atachibi nacho ngesi kuleta aliso mukwaza kuibyanga bana befe kuba kosa milimo miga katano kwa suda kwa basuda kwa basindikeso
being sensitized about these disadvantages of not involving their children to school, and some of them have taken their children back to school. Some of my friends that had also dropped out of school have been sensitized and they are now schooling.
Kama hii project anaenda kukwama, mimi kama ambao nafundisha watu, unajua kwamba watu namna wanafundisha ile kwa njia moja ambao wanapata pesa ndani kwa maisha yao, lakini leo sasa pesa kutoka namna tumefundisha na hakuna namna yote ya kupata tena pesa nyingine. Sasa naomba wakubwa yangu, boss yangu Ilo ama UCA wanisaidie, wacha hiyo cases ya kuisha, wako na kazi nyingine ambao wanafanya ya kupatia pesa ya kusaidia kwa sehemu za pesa, wacha wanaweza kuwa mzuri kwa maisha yao ya kesho.
Helping to fight to eliminate child labor in Chikube, Bugambe sub-country,
and also in Hoima district. Child labor has been really high in this area. As you see, we have a tea plantation here. This is Bugambe Primary Tea School. And in this area, there have been a lot of child labor before we came in. There are many people who will be engaging into harvesting tea early morning before going to school, also in the evening. And the reason they do this, to get some money as pocket money.
nyamuhambiriza maragi mazire o level yagende St. Simon atalo mwaka gwa kabiri nato mukuru waye wamazi kyokati nyonko nkusabira na bagenzi bange ati nyina wa primary manyi wa secondary muisiki nawe nkiyaira likiro bwara rabanda bagenda akola manyankanka nawe asakoraki kwataniza kyonka nyo habwange abagenzi bange abazaye tujja kwataniza hamu abana betu batundira koraki usisikara.
The 2016 global estimates indicate that 1/5 of all African children are involved in child labor, a proportion more than twice as high as in any other region. However, 9% of African children are in hazardous work, again highest of all world's regions. Africa has the largest number of child laborers. 72.1 million African children are estimated to be in child labor and 31.5 million in hazardous work. Progress against child labor appears to have stalled in Africa. Child went up in sub-Saharan Africa over the 2012 to 2016 period, in contrast to continued progress in the world, and despite the targeted policies implemented by African governments to combat child labor. The retrogression was driven in important part by border economic and demographic forces acting against government efforts. The African region is also among the affected situation of state fragility and crisis, which in turn heighten the list of child labor. According to the General Secretary, Uganda Cooperative Alliance, Ivan Asimwe, worldwide, the agriculture sector accounts for the largest share of child labor. In Africa, the sector is 85% of the child labor and 61.4 million children.
We want a generation that is going to take over and continue this country and take it forward. So those are the districts that we are covering. And so far, you know, to Ugandans and Africa in general, this pilot has really showed us a lot. We have been in the field, and when you interact with the parents, with the community leaders, with all of these people, church leaders, they will tell you that actually child labor is bad. And for that matter, our intervention is timely. I will give you some scenarios. Our own study, almost midway this project, we realized that most children had dropped out of school completely. They were not going to school, especially during the time of harvesting coffee. They would not go to school. But because of this awareness creation, where we have gone to communities, had sensitization meetings, had interactions with the parents, the community leaders, the religious leaders, so the message has trickled down, and the head teachers, the teachers are testifying that actually school enrollment has increased, which is a tick on our side.
Child labor in agriculture relates primarily to subsistence and commercial farming, livestock herding, and it is often hazardous in nature and its carried out circumstances. The other children in child labor, Ivan Asimwe says, in Africa, the estimates show 8.1 million, which is 4%, were in industries, and most of them are unpaid. The children in child labor are not in an employment relationship with a third-party employer, but rather work on family farms and family enterprises.
But with this one now, there has been that awareness creation, and now parents themselves and the community leaders have taken it up, and then they have formed committees, they have formed the policies in ensuring that these young people instead of loitering and being engaged in child labor activities, they are going back to school.